Alright, what's up, dudes? Happy Friday. I have no snippets available. That must be because I why would my snippets be gone? Chat Jibbity to the rescue, guys. So, starting here at noon. My timer. I loaded in the other project folder and then reloaded in the originals. Snippets are gone. Python snippets are gone. Load new folder and then reloading in the original project folder. These snippets were associated with issue with the VS Code Python snippets not appearing after switching between project folders. Check user snippets, ensure that your snippets are present in the user snippets file. You can access by going to Preferences, User Snippets. Alright, so we go to File, User Snippets, User Snippets. Oh shit. Is it my extensions? Maybe it's because my extensions weren't restarted. Let's see. No. A git repo is found in the parent folder of the workspace. What is it? I don't really know what this means. Does this mean? Oh, okay. Pick repository to open Canasta projects. Okay, so I saw it change at the bottom. See, I've never really switched out of this project on VS Code, so now I'm seeing. Okay, so now the PyCache and stuff. I think that just showed up. VS Code. We have our JSON settings and shit. Let me close it and then open it again. Because this is supposed. I mean, well, I have these snippets created for a reason, so that I can do Control Alt slash, and then I can pick my snippet, which creates this little boilerplate code without me having to type it up. Just like Python snippet file, usually Python JSON. Okay, so let's try this again. Configure snippets, and then we're looking for Python, just Python, I guess. Oh, it's empty. Why would it be? I'm confused, bro. Like, why would it not? Yeah, they're not there. In a specific project folder's VS Code directory. VS Code to not load them correctly. Huh. Whoa. Switching folder, try loading them whenever. Control Shift P. Control Shift P. That doesn't do that for me. So are they gone? Bro, like come on, man. Really? Okay, well. VS Code snippets are gone. Go to Tools, Option, Text Editor. Always include snippets as selected. Tools. Options, Text Editor. Revert file. Oh, you know what? Wait a second. Let's see. Wait, open workspace. Code workspace. Where would the code workspace be saved? Damn it, man. I didn't want to have to do this. Maybe it's this. Maybe I had to. Aha! There it is. Okay. It's because I loaded the child folder instead of the parent project folder. Because it's... Yeah. Yeah, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Just dumb, that's all. Okay, got it. Figured it out. Okay. It wasn't anything with VS Code. It was me. It was all me. It was all me, dude. I did it. Alright. So, okay, now we can get started. Sorry about that. I'm not, I usually, you know, don't I usually don't change the folder. That was the first time I've done that in so long. Like a really long time. So forgive my ignorance. Alright, so we got started at 12. Which 12? 12 on the dot, or something like that. Or was it 12:10? Let's see. It's 12:15 now. We've been streaming for 10 minutes, so it's 12:05. Right? 12:05 is our start time. Okay, so yesterday we continued the implementation of game attribute locks, and We didn't put where we stopped. I remember where we stopped though, thankfully. So we're gonna, damn. So I actually I need to debug, unfortunately, because apparently I messed something up. Somewhere along the way, I messed something up because it's not working like it's supposed to now. And let's go ahead and duplicate this terminal. Let's go to this one and see Canasta. Alright, now we're gonna copy that. Do the same thing for these three. Now we'll go here and run the server. Damn, dude, my back is fucked up, bro. I don't know what, I don't know what it is. Man, it is not good, dude. It's not like feeling like it's getting better either. It's just like the same pain. So as you can see, we have whatever I did broke the game, because I can't even like type the name. Every now and then, see, this waiting other player thing would happen every now and then. Before, like 1 out of 30 chances, like 3% chance of happening. But now it's completely broken. Like, it doesn't work. See, there we go. And then it's only showing for one of them. See the other one? It still shows waiting for the other player, which is like, and that doesn't even let me type for this one. So something is wrong. Okay. And I went through yesterday and I undid all the changes that I had made, but I didn't undo the changes that I made from the day before. And I don't think I did testing from 2 days ago after those changes. So I'm guessing it's not necessarily from the changes I made yesterday, but it's from the changes I made day before yesterday. And apparently, like, I didn't run a test on it. It wasn't much that I changed, I know, but whatever it was, messed it up. Now I wonder, I just got an idea. I wonder, I know I added in something, just jumped out at me in my mind here. We have, so this current game, I did make this right here, this code right here. Current game log dict, that so this handles, and we're having issue with progression text. We're having issue with progression text. What is this? Calloc list function type error. Okay. Okay. So wait, hold up. I'm dumb. I didn't even look at the traceback. This is just a traceback thing. Okay, I'm dumb again. Strike 2 for the day. Calloc list function got an unexpected keyword argument lock. Okay, so this is like a hard. This is a what do you call this? What type of bug would you call it that displays itself? Let's ask ChatGPT. What would you call a bug that makes itself that makes its root cause apparent via a traceback. Are there different names for different types of bugs, like bugs that are hidden versus bugs that are readily apparent through tracebacks? In software development, bugs can indeed be categorized based on their visibility and how easily the root cause can be identified. Visible bugs. These are bugs whose effects are readily apparent, often accompanied by a clear traceback or error message. Okay, true. Traceable bugs, evident bugs, gotcha. And then we have hidden bugs. They do not produce immediate or clear error messages. Their effects may manifest elsewhere in the application, making them harder to trace back to their source. They're called latent bugs, stealth bugs, or indirect bugs. I guess that's good. Error that occurs during the execution of program and traceback. So that's a runtime error. Okay. Logic error. Here's incorrect results. Error identified during the message points. Exception handling bugs. Exception not properly handled. Okay, so I was, you know, hoping for a little bit better answer than I mean, that's a good answer, but I don't know. So I'm live. Here he is. 5 people. Alright. Let's get this boy. Let's get the boy programming time with the handlebar mustache. The diddler. Did he do it? Damn, son, where'd you find that? Alright. So, we are gonna look at this traceback here. We have, where is it? It was here. The hell? Am I tripping here? Where's the... Okay. Where's the... There we go. There it is. Alright, I'm like, I don't even know if this is from today. This might have been from yesterday. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a new bug, and I'm pretty sure this is what we need to fix. So we have type error, cal lock list function got unexpected keyword argument lock. Okay, so let's copy this, and then Control Shift F, paste it in, and dude, my back is hurting, bro. Like, what is this? It is bad. Wow. I do not want to take my pain medicine. I hate it. It makes me so angry. It gives me like hydrocodone, dude. It makes me mad. Like, it works for a little bit, and then it just makes me like, I get just pissed. Like the Hulk. It just like, I can't help it. It just makes me angry. I really don't like it. It's not even that good. It doesn't even work that like. I don't know, man. I hate that shit. Okay, so we have def calloc list function. It's hurting pretty bad though. Calloc list function, a list method data reentrant lock, and okay, so this is the problem. We have this new. I know. So we never changed the places where this was called. We pass in. lock, yeah. So that's the problem right here. This should say re-entrant lock. That's it. Yeah. Simple, dude. Well, that's cool. That means my bug, like I didn't really break stuff. I was confident, and I thought I didn't break anything at all. Let's see if that fixed everything. Okay. Hey, look at that. It let me type my name. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Key error name. Alright, so we got client 327 with cur game log dict, adder name string. With cur game log dict, adder name string. Grabs the associated lock object. So this, I just added this, and it's saying key error name. Oh, well wait, this doesn't say that it handles name. Oh, okay, I didn't realize, right, because we have the else. If you want to read, oh, so it only handles name. I didn't even see this right here, name. Is that really the only one that it handles? Maybe. Funny. Okay, so we have to add in so we have to add in a logic right here which says if adder name string is not equal to name. So that's what we're doing, and that is indeed what we're doing, bro. That's correct. You got that right, Josh. Damn, son. If adder name string is not equal to name, so now it's not gonna throw. Well, I have to add else now. So we need to say else, which means if adder name string is equal to. If adder name string is equal to name, then we just set it directly. Cool. Alright, so now let's try it again. Running the server and the two clients. And this is online, boys. This is online. It's like logging up on the EverQuest. Asheron's Call. World of Warcraft, you know. Hey. It's an online multiplayer game. Why is this not working? There it goes. That's that delay. We have a delay, a purposeful cushion, a big cushion delay, just to make sure that you see this, waiting other players, something has gone wrong. Let's see if it's readily apparent. There we go. No? Busted ass mouse I gotta buy it. Let me kill the script. Well, let me kill the script. Wonder why that is. Okay, so what happened? Oh, so I wanted to check the cur game thing, right? because why did it jump to? Right, so right here with current game like the add name string. What if this is not the right game? You know what I mean? Like, that's my concern. Is I would like to think that player 2 would send to player 1. I mean to player 2 from the from the server side to the client side though. Well, it doesn't send game attributes though. Remember, we don't transfer the game attributes, right? Isn't that true? Game adders reset. Let's see if I put game adders other client perspective verified that from the perspective of other client none of the transferred game adders are necessary. Do not send them. Right. So they are not sent. We filter them out through we say transferred game adders, right? If adder name string not in no, that's not the section I'm looking for. I'm looking for this is going to result in a little bit searching. Looking for server. Here we go. Right here. Removes all entries from the associated that were just entered with the network to avoid sending them again. Just need to clear. Okay, so we have, is this the section that I'm looking for? This is for send. We have send ID. We send the data to the associated connection. Then we create a copy. Then we iterate through it, and we are removing the game adders from it because we don't want to send those to reduce the copy. The copy removes all game adders since they're not used and therefore should not be transferred to the other client. Yeah, and let me just add that right here. 2 is equal to game. So original copy, and we'll just say removes all game adders from this list since they are not needed by other client. True. Okay. So if that's the case, then yeah, if that's the case, then we don't send from in terms of like P1 game data to P2. We don't send client 1 game data to client 2 from server side, and from client side we don't send client 1 data to client 2 because it's a 1-to-1 on the client side. It's 1-to-1 and 2-to-2. There is no way for the client to send to the non-associated client. So this shouldn't be the problem. That's what I was trying to figure out. I was thinking maybe I'm using cur game here and I shouldn't be. But if this is happening from thread 1, that means it's going to use P1 game, and thread 1 server side is always going to send to client 1. It's not even going to send this data to client 2 because it's game attributes, so those get filtered out before it gets sent, unless something's wrong with that logic. I don't think it is though, because we've been using it for a while. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna run it again. So client 2 is not applying the correct progression text. So we have, what is your name? But it's working right here, and then it changes to prepare to play Canasta, and then it's gonna change back. Okay, no, that one worked. Yeah, but and then it changes back to waiting on other player. Strange. And it won't let me kill the server script, so I can't see what the logs are. Let me change the first custom logger to be active print instead of logging. We're gonna actively print them so I can see the logs, even though it's not letting me kill the script. And maybe we can see if it's throwing an error or something. Okay. So yeah, it's like locked up here. It's this time it didn't go back to waiting on the player, but it's not working correctly. Let's see what we got here. So we have draw one. Okay, it's populated after initial pop check. We can get rid of this log. We don't need that log anymore. Just get rid of this completely. Right. And let's continue. Look at this string of logs. We have the draw. It's populated after prelim. Let's get rid of this one as well. Get rid of that log. That test log, we don't need it. Okay, so then we send the draw one. What is your name? To client. This is thread 2. We're sending to client 2. Okay, then we're sending. What is this? Oh, this is change attribute list file. It's showing what the list consists of. We don't actually need that log either. Specifically created for this. So for now, I guess I'll leave that. I'll just ignore it for now. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, so then we have thread 1 sends game state to draw 1. Okay. Alright, oh that's good. Don't worry about that. Then we send to client 2 text input active. Okay, then we receive from client 2. Text input active is false. That's after we entered our name. Okay. Then we send to client 2. Prepare to play Canasta. Okay, so all that's right. And then we send the name. Okay, then we have thread 1 receiving text input active to false, and then we have thread 2 receiving the same thing, and we don't send anything else. It doesn't show us send anything else, but obviously, well, so then in this case it never sends prepare to play Canasta to the other client. So we have right here prepare to play Canasta, and this is for 2, and this is after we get text input active to false. Then we have 1 text input active to false. text active. But we never, so after text input active is false, receive, we then send prepare to play Canasta to client 2, but we never send it for client 1. And then let's look at the client. So we have any other player, we receive the draw 1, what is your name? Then we receive your name J from other client, and then we send text input active to false. And where is it like hung up at? What is the actual problem right now? It's just like it's something is causing it to just hang. So after, let's see, we send text input active to false. So it's just hanging, like it's not, it's frozen somewhere. It's just, see, that's why it's not letting me kill the script. This is like a while loop does that. Or is it a deadlock? It might be a deadlock since we implemented the locks. Is it because are we recursively we might be recursively acquiring a lock? That could be an issue. Yeah, that might be the problem. We might just be at a deadlock here. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm pretty sure everywhere where we use a lock, we properly release it. We reviewed all that, but then we added new lock code, and maybe I'm perhaps we're recursively accessing acquiring a lock, but when you do that with a regular lock instead of a reentrant lock, it acquires the lock the first time, but then when it enters into the inner recursive section that acquires the lock, that will just hang because it's just blocking while it's waiting for a lock. And that is what I'm seeing. It's like a hanging issue. So we're gonna say lock or equals threading.lock, and then what we'll do is we'll change these to be, what are they called, R locks? Isn't that what you do? It's just R lock. I think so. Let me do. Yeah, it's R lock. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change all these to be and we'll just put a note here that says should these actually these be re-entrant locks, regular locks. Re-entrant or regular locks. So yeah, we're gonna change all these to be R locks. And we're not even using these locks up here, so the change in those was just like silly, honestly. So we'll do one at a time. So we click hard active. That's not going to be the issue, but we'll just do one at a time here and see if that's our issue. We're going to go one by one, because then that will let me know which one exactly, if that is the issue, which one exactly it was. I guess technically it would be smarter to just do them all and then, yeah, so it's still hanging. It's not doing its thing. Okay, so it wasn't that one. Well, let me kill the script. To do all this clicky just to get it to kill it. Alright, so now we're going to do choose multiple cards. This one's not going to be it either. Oh, you know what? Well, I don't think it would be con lock. Maybe I'm wrong. We're basically just going to change them all to be re-entrant locks, and then we can review all the lock logic. See that? So how it changed, like back and forth. And there it goes. Let's see. See how it's showing waiting on other player? Let me see this. Which client is that? Here we go. Why are we sending? Just verify. We are sending to text input active false, and we put in our name, but then we're sending out no, we're receiving. So this is coming from server side. From server side, we're receiving waiting other player, and let's look. Waiting other player. There it is. So we're sending this to thread 2 even after thread 2's name has been registered. Well, that simply means that it's running this section again. So hold up, let me hold off on the rlock thing because I'm not sure that that necessarily is the problem here. Let me just try real quick the enter continue text active one, because that was the last one that I didn't try. But it's showing, I need to look up the code that changes waiting other player, because I mean obviously it's got to be going back to that location. It's going back to that location for whatever reason. So we have enter continue text active lock is now let's see, maybe it was that. You never know. It's sometimes you get a bug associated with code, like you wouldn't think that that bug at that place in the code would cause this weird side effect, but sometimes it does work like that. Was that really it though? Was it really that? Is it really the enter continue text? Oh yeah, it may have been. It was the enter continue text active reentrant. So apparently enter continue text active at least needed to be a reentrant lock. So I think we found the source of that bug. Yeah, I shouldn't have done resituate for the play cards pre-sort. I should have just let them stay where they were. It doesn't. It just doesn't look right. I mean, it's nice and neat and all, but it's not how it would look in a real card game. So. I probably won't ever change that, but oh wow, it's letting us pick the other cards that it would never let us pick. Okay, but now, yeah, okay. So now it's not letting us. Yeah, okay. Alright, so there, yeah, there's still a bug associated with that. We'll get to it. That's been a persistent bug for a long time. But I think we did solve the other bug. And it was actually enter continue text active must be a reentrant lock. I wonder. So let me think about this. Is there any downside to having the is there any downside to having these locks be re-entrant locks? Like, is there any side effects, or is it just safer all around to have them to be re-entrant locks? If I'm not sure, like, do they need to be re-entrant locks? Do they need to be regular? I'm not sure. If I'm not sure and I just say, okay, well, since I'm not sure, I'll just make them a re-entrant lock so that they can be acquired twice on the same thread without having been released. Is that the proper way to do it? Or would that cause a bug? Okay, well, I think, yeah, technically it's not best practice, because if the actual issue is that on thread 1 we're acquiring the lock using a context manager, which will automatically release it after, but then we're recursively acquiring a lock within that with context management. The entrant lock allows us to acquire that second. Since it's, let's just say it's a manual acquire, not using a with context manager, which would automatically release it. Second acquisition would happen, but there would not be a release of that lock. The project would continue to run as normal. That lock is still acquired and it's never been released. Which means that thread 2 can never acquire that lock to change that piece of data. So just making everything a re-entrant lock, every lock a re-entrant lock, is not the answer. The answer is going through and reviewing all your lock code to figure out what the issue is. Now, I don't think that was what was happening here. I'm pretty sure what was happening is we just needed a re-entrant lock for enter continue text active. So like basically, as long as you're manually releasing your lock every time you acquire it, you're safe. But if you're not, then you're not safe to use re-entrant locks, because then that could just, it would just be confusing, because then you could acquire it 3 times, 4 times. Well, no, how does it work exactly? So you can acquire the lock up to, like, how many times? Let's see, Python. How many times can you acquire a re-entrant lock before you can no longer acquire it without releasing it? Re-entrant lock allows the same thread to acquire it multiple times without causing a deadlock. Each time the lock is acquired, an internal counter is incremented. The lock can be acquired as many times as needed. However, to release the lock... Oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, I get it. So, the lock remains locked. Like, 1, 2, to acquire. Release the lock until you release 3 times on that thread. Okay, I understand. So that means, I like that. Anyway, so we have to figure out. We just have to make sure we're handling our locks correctly. That's all. So I need to make a list of locks that have to be reentrant locks. Must be reentrant lock. But why must it be a reentrant lock? That's the question. So let's look for it and see if we can figure this out. Why it would be.
So even then, I still get worried.
Unless the other thread was trying to acquire the lock. So this is in the enter continue text active setter. We use the lock to run the core function. And then where is this at? Enter continue text active. And this is enter continue text active setter. So these are right next to each other. Okay, right. So that's the setter and the getter. So that's not going to be our issue. Our issue is that this one, it was using the other thread was trying to was trying to attain this lock. And it would be either this or this would be our issue. So game lock takes add name string. Which one would it fall under? It's enter continue. Which one? Which one was it? Enter continue text active locked. So enter continue text active lock would fall under the, if it's a property, it would be the first one. So enter continue text active, race condition prone, calc prop. So this is calc prop. So it would be this one right here. So this was our issue. It was trying to acquire this lock from the other thread, or no, it wasn't a reentrant lock. So it was the same thread. Right. Okay, I see now exactly what happened. This was really simple, actually. So this was just a simple recursive. This is not complicated at all. So we have current game accessing the lock. So this was actually not a multi-thread issue. This was an issue on the single thread. Since we had a regular lock, it could only be acquired once. we're acquiring the lock right here. Then we're setting the adder, which calls the setter, and the setter acquires the lock recursively, which we just saw here in the inner continue text active setter. It acquires the lock. But yeah, so that's not like bad code. We just needed a reentrant lock, and it is my break time, so I'm gonna go take a little break. I'll be back in a minute. But yeah, we figured that out. Okay, so cool. That wasn't very hard to figure out. I was just a little slow getting there. Okay, yeah, I'll be back in a second. Alright, we're back. Set our timer. I'm gonna go one more hour, and then I'm gonna go eat. Try to go a full hour. Alright. So yeah, this is just a recursive lock. This is a very simple fix. And that means actually that any of these that means that all of the locks associated with this clause right here need to be reentrant locks, which means all of them that are calculated properties, yeah, because whenever we set them, well, we could add, we could, instead of using a reentrant lock, we could check to see if the lock was acquired. You know what I mean? Like, instead of acquiring the lock a second time, we could check to see if it was acquired. And if it was acquired, then we wouldn't acquire it again. So that whenever we did a recursive, whenever we acquire the lock from, say, from here in dir check, and we're calling the set adder within that context, which in turn calls that setter, which in turn at this point acquires the lock again. Now, the other option, instead of using a reentrant lock, would be to check if the lock is acquired. If it is acquired, then don't acquire it again, because we don't really need to acquire it again. It's already acquired on that thread, which means it's not gonna allow you to acquire it on the other thread, because it's acquired. If it's acquired at all, it's still acquired. It doesn't matter if it's acquired 5 times or once, it's still technically acquired and not released, which means thread 2 can't use it. So damn, I think though I just realized something, because game attributes, since they're not even well, no, I'm wrong, because the main thread, I'm forgetting the main thread. Yeah, okay, I was like, damn, did I just do all this for nothing? That happens a lot. But no, I do need it because of the main thread. I was forgetting about that. The main thread modifies the attribute, and then the client, one of the client threads, will handle it, could handle it simultaneously. Yeah, so we do need the locks for these game attributes. But yeah, we don't actually have to acquire it a second time. We could do an if to see if it's acquired, and if that's faster than acquiring the lock and then releasing it, I would rather not recursively acquire a lock. It seems just like bad practice. It's just like, it seems sloppy, you know what I mean? It seems like it would just be better to have one lock if it's or one acquisition If it's acquired, it's acquired. If it's not, it's not. If it's not acquired, then acquire it. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's the better option, honestly, than using the reentrant lock. So to solve this, I don't know the hold up because, well, let me think about this for a second. If we were to check to see if it was currently acquired, and then not acquire it because it was acquired at that point in time, but then through the length of the process, that lock would get released in the middle of the process, that means the other thread could acquire it. So, actually, that just checking to see if it's acquired at that point in time is not sufficient. So we actually do need a re-entrant lock. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was thinking, like, wait a second, that just seems sloppy. But that's not true. It's not actually sloppy to do it that way. That's the proper way to do it, to ensure that the entire, like, whatever process you're going through before you want to release that lock is completed. If you were to just check if it's acquired at the beginning of the process, if the process is 10 seconds long, it might get released a second in, and that's 9 seconds of vulnerability. So, okay, yeah, we do need reentrant lock, actually. So, and that means, yeah, we'll need reentrant lock for every single one of these that's, I'm trying to think of the different scenarios. So, like, would we only need these if it's a calculated property? Because I don't think that's necessarily true. Well, maybe. Because, okay, so we're talking about reentrant locks allow you to acquire it multiple times in the same thread. So in this case, for all the calculated properties, we acquire the lock, and then we call the setter, which acquires the lock. So that's recursive acquisitions. Now, if we were to, if it were a non-calculated property where the setter itself didn't didn't acquire the lock as well, that would mean, like, let's just say,
Oh, cock.
we would have to acquire the lock like manually, like not through the setter. That would mean we wouldn't deal with a recursive lock necessity. So if it's not recursive, then we don't need reentrant. So I don't know if we would need a reentrant lock for this one. And this handles, let's see. So it handles only round and winner soundable. I thought there was 3. well, the other two are handled in a different section. But yeah, those aren't handled recursively. So this one in this section is one of those three: round end, winter sound, bool. So we have this section right here, this clause. I don't think we would need a reentrant lock for round end, winter sound, bool, because whenever we acquire the lock here in dircheck to apply data and then call the setter, that doesn't derivatively or recursively call the lock acquisition again. Yeah, so the lock would get acquired before the lock would get acquired before it was changed on the main, on this thread elsewhere, but that change would actually happen on the main thread. There isn't another place on this thread that would acquire that lock. So we wouldn't need the reentrant lock for round end, winter sound, bool. But like, doesn't this mean though, like, since the setter acquires the lock, don't we not need the lock in the setter? Like, couldn't one of these places that acquire the lock override the other, so that instead of having the lock acquisition twice recursively, we would only have it once? Because if every time the setter is going to be called, it's going to acquire that lock, and every time the this section is run, it calls the setter. Like, do we really need to have the lock? I don't think we need to have it twice. Because say this is thread 1. Thread 1 runs this section without the outer lock acquisition. When it calls the setter, it's gonna acquire the lock, and that would be fine. See if we can find it real quick. So what is it? Enter continue text active. There we go. So we then use the lock here. Yeah, I just don't see us needing it here again. I don't see us needing it twice. If every one of these attributes is a property, and we use the lock acquisition at the beginning of the property, that means we don't need to have this lock acquisition here. Yeah, we don't need it because it's already at the beginning of the setter. Now, is that a vulnerability? I don't know, because it's gonna start the process, but before it actually changes anything, it's gonna acquire the lock. So like it's not going to be able to return a value or set a value yeah, we don't have to worry about like this function being assigned first. That's fine to run. All that's fine to be run. It's this that gets run because this is really the shared object right here. Enter continue text active underscore. That can't get set. That can't be modified while this lock is already acquired. So having it exist outside of the I don't know though, because doesn't that mean that we can remove all this lock logic for all these attributes from inside the setter? Like we don't need to acquire the lock here every time we call a setter on one of these attributes if every time we run setAttr on that attribute yeah, we would only need to call it once here and that would protect it. Now, the only reason we would need the setter in both places would be if there's another location within the same thread that that modifies the attribute that calls the setter. But since client threads on the server side only modify but some of them are derivative, right? Like some of them may be set through the setting of another attribute, which means that like that place where it is set wouldn't be covered by this lock acquisition, because this is only going to grab the lock that's associated with the attr name string. So let's just say enter continue text active, or I know there was at least one where the attribute at hand, the attribute at hand was enter continue text active, and enter continue text active will then, that being the attr name string, it's going to get the enter continue text active lock. Then it's going to set the attr. It's going to call the setter for enter continue text active. It's going to enter into that, and then let's say it also in that setter modifies click hard active. Just picking any of them. Click hard active setter gets called. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means if we don't have a lock acquisition inside of ClickHard Active Setter, then it's going to not have a lock acquired. It's just going to run the code and have a possible race condition. So that's not good. We can't roll like that. We have to make sure that we're protected in all possible locations. So since the lock acquisition does happen at least sometimes, since it happens at least sometimes, derivatively, like where, you know, this lock acquisition won't cover every single instance for at least one of them. I think we could either go through and determine that case by case, or we could just always apply the lock. And the lock acquisition is pretty fast. As far as performance wise. So just thinking here, like, should we really have multiple places? Should we just let it be handled on a case-by-case basis, or should we just apply this rule and do a double acquisition every time, just in case it was, you know, derivatively set? Now the implication of that would be, if we did a case by case, then that means on the ones that we know are not ever going to be derivatively set, we could remove the lock acquisition from the setter, right? Because if the setter if the attribute is only ever set in this context, then we're fine. If the attribute is set derivatively through the setting of another adder in this context, or through this context, then we would need to have another lock acquisition. Yeah, so like, to be truly performant and clean, and also to reduce the amount of code and bloat and the amount of dead code, it would be wise to remove those instances where we're grabbing the lock recursively inside of the setter. So what we need to do is we need to go through each of these attributes. Have the list of them right here. So we have to go through all of these and determine which one of these, which of these are set through the setting of another location. So if they're set in another location, then and then we're speaking into context of within a thread, within one thread, not like on a different thread. This is just speaking to the one thread. This is just to make sure that on that thread, the lock is acquired only when it needs to be, and is not recursively acquired if it doesn't have to be. So well, actually, and I was thinking about this too, if we're recursively acquiring the lock, that lock isn't going to be released until the inner function is done anyway. So I was like worried about, well, what if the lock gets released before but again, re-entrant lock doesn't necessarily, well, yeah, it would have to be recursive because it's single thread. It's not between threads. So what we're talking about here is within one thread, a lock being acquired recursively. Re-entrant lock. Like, we wouldn't actually need to have that acquired on the inner part if it was already acquired on the outer part. Because if it's not going to be released until the outer part is done, and the outer part can't be done until the inner part is done, then that means the process will be kept safe by that lock. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're like, we don't actually need to recursively acquire a lock at all. But so it's kind of complicated, right? Because if we need, let's think about this. If we need to acquire the lock like, let's say another setter calls that setter. We would need to have a lock there. Now what that means is, if but then we could just check. I was gonna say, well, in that case, wouldn't it have to be a re-entrant lock instead of a regular lock? Because in that case, we would have one attribute calling another attribute setter, and in the setter we acquire the lock, and also whenever we're accessing that same attribute that's derivatively accessed directly, when we would apply the lock, then on the outer section we would then attempt to still acquire the lock a second time on the inner section. But that doesn't mean we need a re-entrant lock. That just means we need to check on the inner section if we need to have, if the lock's acquired already. Because if on the same thread the lock is already acquired, that means you're accessing that attribute recursively, or that means you're not releasing a lock when you're modifying it. But as long as you're doing everything correctly, it means that you are recursively acquiring that lock, which means that process would be protected by the lock. And since the outer process needs to be protected by the lock, that means you're safe. So, like, all we need to do is we don't have to have re-entrant lock. All we need to do is check to see if a lock has been acquired. If the lock has been acquired, we don't acquire it, and we just let it run. If it hasn't been acquired, then we know we're not recursively accessing it. That means we're accessing it through that derivative manner from the other attribute's perspective, which means we would want to acquire it in that case. And that will protect us in all instances. Yeah. Yeah, so we're good. We don't actually need re-entrant lock. We can do... Man, this is... Was it worth all that? I don't know. I mean, now I understand locks better. So... But was it really worth it? Okay. Determined that for calculated property game adders which are at risk of race conditions, we don't actually have to use R locks. We can simply check for lock acquisition. Check to see if the lock has already been acquired. Yeah, we can simply check to see if the lock has already been acquired. If it has, then we can execute the code as is without acquiring it a second time, since this is due to it already being acquired recursively. Since this is within the same thread. If it hasn't, then acquire the lock. If elif or if else is faster than lock acquisition. If else is faster than lock acquisition, release. So it should be more performant. And it reduces the amount of code, because this, like, if it's not derivatively set, and it's only going to be set through that dir check section, that means right here in all of these setters, we can remove all this code, right? We can remove this if SS or CS. We can remove this core function definition, and we can just restore it to its normal state, which just cleans it up and makes less code, etc., etc. It's easier to read, all that stuff. So I think as long as it's not like as long as there's not another place where this setter gets called, if that's the only place where the setter gets called, let's do the stir check, then we can leave these functions, these setters, as they were without having to create a core function to reduce double, pacing of the code and checking this SSCS logic, because we know that this is always going to be executed on the client side. I mean, well, actually that's not true. I just realized this. So we actually need to check if this is SS or CS here. I just realized that. So we need to say if change attribute list dot SS or CS is equal to is equal to server side. Yeah, server side. That's when we want to use the context manager. So if change attribute list SS or CS is equal to SS, current game, yeah. And I can actually I can add this as an and, couldn't I? I could just say and change attribute list right here, because as long as the attr name string is not equal to round n winner sound bool, and SSCS is equal to SS, and this one should go first because it's going to be more common. So to increase performance, we would say and there we go. So if change attribute list SJS is equal to SS and the name string is not equal to round and winner sound bool, and this would be else, meaning because like 50% of the time when you're dealing with this is going to be false. So this would exit out of the clause quicker, since it's got to check this and that. So this needs to be changed to if this would actually be or. So yeah, if change attribute list is if it's equal to CS, or if attr name string is equal to round n winner sound bool, because if attr name string is equal to round n winner sound bool, it's not going to enter into this, and then if it's CS, it's not going to enter into this. They don't both have to be true, so it's not an and, it's an or. So we don't need to lock in this case since either is run from CS or this attr doesn't require it. Okay, so same thing here. We need to say if adder name change it to this s is equal to ss and adder name string is not equal to name, then with the lock yeah, so there we go, we fixed that. Yeah, and let me put this here. We'll put this means that for all setters that are only modified SS via dir check. Yeah, because only on receive they're modified. They're not modified on send when we send them. When we send them, they're just checked. Like, they're not even, well, they're checked, yeah. So if we say, this means that for all setters that are only modified server-side via dir check receive section, we can simply use the dir check sections lock acquisition and leave the setter in its normal state. Meaning we don't need to check the SS or CS, create a core function and associated logic. Well worth the savings. We just call it well worth the savings. Okay, so we finally figured that out. That was a little bit complicated, but I think we made the right choice. So now we just have to review all these. So that means we need to actually, we'll just put this at the top now. Say review all below game adders, ones which are calculated properties, to see if they are modified anywhere other than dir check receive section. Yeah. If they are, they need a lock acquisition logic in the setter as well. If they are not, they don't need lock acquisition in the setter. Okay. So let's do that real quick. Let's create the list. So this is gonna exclude So this is going to exclude skeleton clickable, skeleton clicked, and skeleton clicked card because those are handled in a different section. Alright, so let's start at the top here. So choose multiple cards. So we're looking for places where server-side client thread would modify this or access. Well, no, just modification. Alright, so that one's safe. That one we don't need. Yep, that one we don't need it. So only changed SS threaded client via dir check receive. I was thinking about Free Fry Friday at McDonald's. Clocked out for a second here. Oh shit, there goes the rain. And it's coming down too. Alright, keep going. Come on, let's finish this shit. Hurry. Alright. Click card active, Alright, that's safe. That's not a different attribute. Core function. Okay, this is in the core function inside of click card active. Or no, wrong. Almost got me there. Almost got me there, boys. This one actually is at risk. It does need it in the setter, cause if you look, so this is in click card active, but then this is in choose multiple cards. So right here, choose multiple cards setter. Yeah, so this does end up calling the setter on click card active. So in the context of choose multiple cards being set, you know, through so is choose multiple cards a one of these attributes that we're dealing with? That's the question. It is, yeah, it's the first one. It's the one we just dealt with. So in this case, well, yeah, it's gonna call. Where are we at here? Okay, yeah, so here we are. So we receive choose multiple cards on that thread. We would acquire the choose multiple cards lock. Then we call a click card active lock. I mean click card active setter, but it's not going to have the lock if we remove it from the setter. So in this case, click card active does need to have a lock in the setter. So we're just gonna make it like short and sweet like that. Just gonna put it like this. Verified. It either verified does or doesn't. Verified doesn't need lock acquisition setter. Verified needs lock in the setter. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so next one, enter continue text active. Whoops. Okay, so this is in enter continue text function. So this is not gonna be in that same thread, right? Yeah, this is not gonna be in that thread. This is gonna be associated with the this is not associated with the client thread. This is would be done through the main thread, so this we don't have to worry about. Property is derivative of the enter continue text active. Okay, so here we go. There's the calculated property and the setter for enter continue text active. So we're safe there. Now this is event handler, so we're safe there. In progression, we're gonna be safe there. All features, all that. Yeah, okay. Alright, so this one's safe. This one doesn't need it. So verified. Just copy. Doesn't need lock in the setter. Game state. This is going to be safe because this is, well, hold on. Well, yeah. Yeah, we actually need the setter here. We need the setter in. We need the setter. We need the lock in the setter. Yes, because this is. No, no. This is client side, dude. Yeah, I got mixed up here. I'm thinking dirt check. Yeah, this is not dirt check. Silly goose. Okay, so continue. Don't need to worry about that. That's client side. True. Okay. Game state, return game state, setter. Okay. So this is outside of the while loop. So this is actually wouldn't. Yeah, that's. well, hold up, wait a second. So I'm trying to figure out, would this need, because the this is going to be threaded client, okay, and then we also have main thread modifying this attribute. Yeah, so we actually, because of this line, would need the lock in the setter, because the or since this is the only place we use it, wait a second, man. Oh, dude, I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb again. Strike 3 for today. I actually, we actually need the lock in the setter for all of these, because it's a multi-threaded doofus. So like the whole point is to protect. Dumb, man. Dumb. Yeah, we do need the locks in the setters, dude. Because of main thread. Main thread, I mean, how else is it gonna lock them? So all these actually need the lock in the setter. I'm an idiot. I realized it, what, 7-8 minutes in. It's only like, I'm dumb. Wasted just like 15 minutes of my life. 20 minutes maybe. Hopefully not more than 20 minutes. It is a lot to think about. I'll give myself some grace. Using the locks is a little bit complicated of a process. I should have realized that though earlier. Like, it's whatever. It's what's done is done. I realize now. Yeah, we have to have. Yes. So this whole little thing right here, all this shit, this list, we have to put them. We have to put them in the setter. Otherwise, we have to put it everywhere. There where it's called in modified, you know, and that's just stupid. Like, it's not stupid, but it's if you have a setter, it just makes sense to put it in the setter. If you have to create a little core function and add in a little bit of logic, you know, whatever. You don't, what are we gonna go through every time, you know? Some of these are changed a lot. Like progression text has changed a lot. Well, some of these are not changed a lot, but and that's my timer. So Yeah, dude, we'll just put it in the setter and create the little core function. It's a little bit of extra code, but I don't know. We could just manually add in the locks. Like, it's not a bunch of places, but why would we do that? You know, why would we? So I'll change this. We'll check and see which one is better to do. Just relax, bro. Just relax. Let's see. Determine if we should add lock in setters, or if we should should we add lock acquire line every time adder is, well, not just when it's set. We would have to do that when it's set or gotten, right? Yeah, because yeah, we still have to lock the access. That's the other half of it. So it's not just every time we set it, every time we get it and set it. So that would be, let's just look at choose multiple cards real quick. Like, that would be, just count real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times, which would just add 6 lines. It's really not that bad, you know. It's really not bad. Yeah, it's really not bad. It's only 6 times. So we'll just say 6x set get, and we'll check the rest of these after break. 227 break here. Line 15 in things to do. So we're gonna take our break. We're gonna go eat. I'm gonna eat lunch and stuff. So I'll be back. We'll do a little bit more figuring out this locks. It locks. Man, it's a nightmare, and it's like, it's just a lot. I could just cheese it, you know, and just slap some code in there and it would be fine. I could just put it in the setter, make it a reentrant lock, who cares? But you know, I like to do things like the right way and the thorough, like, you know what I'm saying, so we don't have like wasted code and we're not applying something 10 places when we only need to do it 2 places just because it's a little bit easier, you know what I mean? So yeah, alright, I'll be back. See you guys in